We have Sassy in the house, guys. Hello, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Everybody say hello, Sass.
The great white Pahana, as she's known of
Mm-hmm.
by her sister over here and brother Rama, who's around the backside right now. So, we were just going to talk a little bit about what you should do when you pass over.
Mm-hmm.
And some people have made comments on, is the moon a soul trap? How about the light? Do you go into the light or don't go into the light? Don't go into the light.
I know.
Well, what do you do and what is typical when we pass over?
I know. What is typical when we pass over? It's pretty darn simple, actually. And what I would encourage people to do is understand that it's a process and it's not something that's going to happen in a blink of an eye. It's going to happen in layers, but ultimately you want to have yourself in a space where you're grounded and you actually know what's happened. So I know that might sound weird, crazy, call it what you will, but when we pass away, we need to stay and we need to figure out what has happened. We need to wait for our guides. We need to wait for our angels, wait for a group of people. Now, I have heard of a particular blue man, and it's not the nice variety either, a blue man that has come to call people before. Don't go with him.
Okay. Yeah, and again, the circumstances of when we pass over is really, really critical. And the controllers do understand these things. That's why there's so much war in the world and so much conflict, so much fear. Again, when we look to what grabs the headlines, it's everything fear based. When we look to so many of the movies out there that are the biggest hits, they're scary movies. In many ways, again, that's something that will lower our vibrations and cause confusion. Then, of course, we've had the plague upon the land. We've had a certain C period, U period, R period, E period. That causes a fog and a haze for people when they do cross over. It doesn't mean that they're lost per se forever, but it does seem to make it more difficult for people to gain their footing, understand what's happening, and to rise upward in vibration.
Right, because it changes the physical DNA of things. And if the physical DNA of things is going to be changed, it's going to also be changed in an energetic way and taking us away from that organic type of blueprint that we started with. And that's why they have created this fake etheric realm and then change our DNA because it forces our energetic DNA to entwine with that and will hold the energy down.
So, when you hear these rumors and these legends about soul traps and things like that, there is some reality to it because we can definitely become confused, and the controllers understand that when we're not here, when the body is shed, we're on 4D typically. At times of ascension, there becomes the option if the person is able to raise their vibrations and frequency and understanding, they can move on up into that fifth density and be well above all these realms. When we look to all of these legends, myths, and a lot of our religious texts, teachings, when you look at the hellish realms, those are truly the lower astral realm. The heavenly realms, so to speak, are actually the higher fourth density. So you have lower fourth density and then higher fourth density. In the middle is a realm that is not bad per se. It's kind of, I guess you could look at it like, um, what was that one with the three beds?
Oh,
That
the
old
the
myth.
Goldie Bear.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Goldilocks.
bear
Was
the
that
bear story.
Goldilocks?
Goldilocks.
Just
Yeah.
right. Well, just right really is 5D, but again, each soul is unique and we come here to learn. So some souls, want to go through many, many incarnations. And if we look to my chart per se, if I look at my astrological chart, as Rama's just munching on a shell
He
here.
found a shell. He's hungry.
Ram.
Hey,
There
baby.
you go, Ram.
Handsome.
Say hi.
Say hi.
Say, I'm just a little boy. I don't know what's going on. Um, if you look at my chart, where keto is, you could see that I don't really I've chosen not to care about money in this life, and that's something that I've done in other lives. And my chart is set up so that I could have some notoriety, but not an overwhelming amount. Because again, it's something that once you've experienced and learned, you might want to go on from there. So when you look at your chart, again, your Vedic birth chart can tell you so much. It gives you kind of an understanding for your purpose. Mine's all about gaining as much knowledge and sharing that. And that's really what my chart shows. So it gives you an idea of what you're supposed to do in this lifetime. And when I was in the system, I was always feeling like there was something huge missing. Something felt wrong. It never felt comfortable. It never felt right. Even if you got a promotion or bought a new house, all these things that should make you happy, they never did. And I didn't really know contentment until I started to actually do what I came here for. And that was all basically revealed to me when Cindy did my chart for me. I had another friend, Annalita, and hi, Annalita, if you're watching, who does human design. And she gave me insights into my purpose and things like that too. But the Vedic chart really was an eye opener. So when we pass over, the critical thing is to get our feet under us, understands what's happening, so then we can move forward. Typically, we will be met by guides. My dear friend Leah, and if she's listening, hello, Leah and Neil, and please do send prayers to them. They're both going through some challenges in this life as well. But Leah's been clinically dead, and what she found was she found Yeshua on the other side, waiting for her and comforted her and told her she has more to do, and she came back and she's doing more. And her and Neil are wonderful people, and they're really beloved people that have been there for me in times of transition. And she shared her story with me and Cindy. And what she found on the other side was absolute love, acceptance, and compassion. And she was met by, again, Yeshua, as she does call on Yeshua, but she also calls on Krishna. And she also calls on Shiva and Lakshmi, as she's very much like we are. We're very eclectic, but so are the guides. I mean, so are these benevolent beings. They come from all traditions. It just boggles my mind that people could conceive that these beings wouldn't be working with each other. So if you are a devotee to Krishna or Shiva or any of these other high density beings, you might find them on the other side. It's really, really common to find your loved ones on the other side. That is very common. To be greeted by your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your best friend, your aunt, your uncle, or maybe in the case of Cindy, who had childhood guides that nobody could see, and they kept telling her, they're not there, child. Those are just imaginary, play friends.
Mm-hmm.
But then we discovered, no, actually, her imaginary play friend turns out to be her great grandfather.
Mm-hmm. I know, I mean, I had these friends when I was little and I played with them and they were just as real as Mike is sitting here next to me. And when I got a little bit older, somewhere in my 20s, I says to my dad, I'm like, Dad, where did all my friends go when we lived up in Idaho, up Pine Creek? And he says, sweetheart, you didn't have any friends. And that really just, I don't know, it took me back because they were so real to me. They were just as real could be. And we played every day and kept me safe. In Idaho, I certainly should have been packed away by a mountain lion, by a bear. gotten by a barracuda
Or a Bigfoot.
or Bigfoot, but nothing happened to me. I always had my friend Jerry at the time who showed himself as a little boy, but really it was just a vision so that I would be very comfortable around them and I wouldn't think anything weird or anything. Often thinking back now, I realize that Jerry didn't really say anything either. He just played quietly. But we look at our passions in life. We look at that thing, our drive. What are we supposed to be doing in this life? And that's where in astrology you would look at Rahu as one of those things, and then there's other things like you look at, well, what's your karma in this life? And that's where you would look at Saturn, or all of our planets actually hold a little piece of our karmic mystery, but life has ways of unfolding itself.
As Sassy's trying to run away. Come on, Sass.
Sass, come on.
So I would not be surprised if the first one to greet Cindy would be Jerry, who is actually her great grandfather. And that's typically what would happen. But if a person finds themselves with confusion and you can't see anybody around you, just take time to root and ground yourself, center yourself in love, and just try to send out that positive frequency and think of those beings that are on the other side that comfort you. And again, they will come. When Zeke was having his heart attack and I started to run energy on him and I started trying to bring him back, he started to perk up. But then I got the message from the guides that it would be more humane to let him go. So I shifted gears and basically I started doing mantras to Lakshmi and to Aset, Isis, as they are two beings that really comfort me, as well as Ganesha. And they did come and they helped him transition, and Cindy got to see the whole thing, and it was really an amazing experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was very, very touching. They were standing around him, and Zeke's energy, it actually kind of came out his spine. So that was a little bit different to watch. And then I got to see different progressions as he came out looking like Zeke, but in that energetic form. And then slowly he's learning about his surroundings, that, he doesn't have to sit outside the door. He can walk through the door. He can pretty much just lay on the bed wherever he wants and he's not going to disturb us. But then ultimately finding his way back into an orb. So there's processes to everything, life and death.
Absolutely. We've shared with you that there's a person that we've met that's a friend. His name is Butch. And every time we go by the graveyard, we yell out to him. We say, "Hey, Butch." And, most of the time he'll be out there and sometimes in human form. And when he's in human form, he's got overalls on and he looks kind of like your typical farmer. And he's out there just tending the 4D version of the graveyard. And it might sound silly, but that's what makes him happy. And when people are newly entombed in the graveyard, he greets them. And then he shows them that they don't have to walk on the ground. They could take the orb form and they could go fly around. And in fact, the first introduction to Butch was when Cindy was in a trance and Butch came in, and all of a sudden he's like, it was kind of like, gosh, I don't know, was that Ghost? Where he's like, the ghost jumps in and it's like, wow, I'm a woman.
Yeah.
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 What's going on here?
Stuck.
And then he didn't know how to get out. And so I nudged him out. And it was just comical, because then he was like, "Hey, guys, follow me." And he takes off in orb form, trying to teach the other spirits to go. We're just used to this. If there is a ghost in the room, it's no big deal to us. And sometimes there's tons of them in the room. If there's a demon in the room, it's actually no big deal to us either. I just take time to focus and I banish it. And, a lot of nights, most nights before going to bed, we will do sage, and I'll do the whole ceremony part of it where I do sage with a banishing pentagram in the four corners. And I call them the four archangels with one extra archangel. and that's it. And I just visualize the the pentagram sweeping away anybody that's not welcome, and then I'll do my mantras to invite the guides back in. And that's what we typically do. The other night we were laying down, and Cindy was telling me about this nasty demon that was right behind us, just waiting for us to fall asleep to try to cause a little chaos. So I just did it mentally and just vibrated the names of the archangels, and it disappeared through the floor right before I was done, because it knows if it hangs around a little too long, it's going to get its butt grabbed and they get put in a timeout space, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Now, it is important to work on yourself, work on your emotions, work on your light body, because all of that strength and intention is what moves toward and pushes these entities out of the room. So, very important. If you still have any traumas that are lingering, they will find ways in through your traumas. So, you have to be very, very mindful of that, and it can be quite exhausting. So, there's just so many things that I guess we do on a daily basis that we don't really tell you guys. And I guess that's because we're just sort of entrenched in it. It's like our living, breathing, everyday life.
Yeah, it's just what we're used to. We're used to experiencing and acknowledging beings from other densities around us every day, all the time. It's no big deal, and it's no big deal when you're in these other densities. Once we get into fourth density fully, everything changes. You know, all our fairy tales, the myths, the legends. You know, those will actually come to life, and we will see beings that were things that were thought to be just legendary or mythological, but we'll see that they're actually real. They've been here the whole time. We just can't perceive them, but we will be
Mm-hmm.
perceiving them in the future. That's the difference. And so, you know, with us, it's all a matter of building up that strength of visualization. You know, there is something, well, we should probably save that for another topic, but there's something called an egregore, which is a thought form that becomes very, very tangible and real. And so when you think about what type of consciousness must not the creator of this universe have? Well, at some point in time, that being was having experiences like we are right now. What? That's sacrilege. No, it's just how the universe works.
And there's a lot of things that have been kept from us and for from such a very, very young age. And it reminds me of that story about the elephant. You know, they tie a baby elephant to a pole, and he just can't move, and he can't move, and he can't move. And over time, over the years, he just simply stops trying, to the point where you can tie the elephant to a very light chair and he won't even try to get away because he thinks he's stuck. That's kind of where they got us.
Oh, there's so much that has been just so meticulously orchestrated, crafted, pieced together in such a way to distort the reality of what we perceive to be the world all around us, and see it as something that it's not. It is a magical creation, and we are co-creators in this creation. When we talk about different beings, and you could take one part from the Bible where it said that mankind was given dominion, and you see over the animals and other beings that mankind was created in God's likeness. That has made many people think that nothing else was created in God's likeness or Source's likeness. Well, the likeness of Source that's in all of us is the eternal soul. It's the consciousness. That's what's in all of us. At some point in time, Sassy could be a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
And very likely that really might happen. It all depends on what her soul wants to achieve.
You know, and our pets that have this experience with us, we can all be part of the same soul stream. I've talked with many people who have lost pets, but you know, it was so traumatic, and they cry after many, many years. Even though they've been gone many years, they're still very upset. But these are the pets that run in our very own soul stream that we go from one lifetime to the next with.
You know, people might think I'm crazy, and that's fine because in this world, if you wanted to be part of the in crowd that's always just chasing after wealth and status and ego and all that, that's nothing really that interests me or Cindy really. But I have been known to converse with animals. I know many of you guys do too. There was a cute little lizard that was outside the back door in the garden, and he saw me and he went to run away at first, and then he hesitated, looked over his shoulder at me, and I said, to him, "Hey, little guy, how you doing today?" And he tilted his head, and then I started to send him energy. I started to run energy to him, and he just seemed to change, and his whole presence kind of calmed, and he was at peace with me. And then his color changed. I haven't told Cindy this little interaction today, but his color changed, and so it was really neat watching his whole reaction to me. At first, it was like cautious and like, "Oh, I better get out of here. Somebody's coming." And then the next, it was curious. And then the next, it was kind of the feeling like interacting with a friend or at least somebody that you can trust. The animals can read our energy. That's one of the things that's clear. Everybody's pet seemed to love my dad, and my dad had just a softness to him and a gentleness to him for a big guy, 6'3", 220, 230, but yet very, very gentle, very calm, very peaceful, very mellow. And it just seemed like if there was ever going to be animals around, they'd end up on his lap. They could feel his energy. There are people like that, and there are people like that that will encounter animals in the wild, and they won't necessarily go running away because they can sense you. And we will be able to do more of that as we go deeper into the next era.
And that happens so much to small children too that are just freshly kind of on this planet. They have that new high vibrational way about them where pets and insects just love to be around them, and that's an energy that we all can create, but it seems to be we're just naturally born with it. We were talking to some friends yesterday, and their mom was saying, our daughter will go and walk through the grass, and she'll end up with all these little grasshoppers on her hands, and she says, these are my friends, and she just instinctively knows the truth, and she's having that conversation with everything around her. And I just love seeing that some children are being raised to understand that everything around us is a constant conversation.
Absolutely. And interaction. So we just wanted to share a few of these little things with you guys in these times of chaos, division, strife. It's a temporary thing. This age is going to be going through its death throes, and it probably will get more intense before it gets better. But at the same time, if you root and ground yourself in this knowledge that no, you aren't just born into sin per se, and you don't need a blood sacrifice to save you. You don't have to do anything any particular dogmatic way. The creator is inside you and accepts you as you are. That's a beautiful thing. And we will see our loved ones again when we leave these flesh suits. And we will see our loved ones, and even our pets that have departed will be with us as well.
Hmm.
As in many cases, as Cindy was alluding to, they are part of our soul stream, and they do evolve just like we do. And someday Sassy might be a little girl. Someday Sassy might be the creator of her own universe. In
Right.
some ways, she already is.
Indeed.
As always, guys, thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Much love, God bless, and namaste.
Namaste.